So the tracks that comprise Mind Over Manners, what were the circumstances around recording those and writing those? When were they done?
Well, we about half the record I had written not long after we released our first record,
Right.
and we've been playing them out live for a while. And so when we hit the studio, we kind of tackled those first just because we were comfortable playing them, and we like to get as live a take as we can. And then sort of while we started all that, I wrote the next 6 or 7 songs during that. And I wrote definitely 5 songs, and then, the pandemic started, and that's when the song Mind Over Manners kind of came out. We actually booked a day in the studio after we had already started mixing everything else. And I wanted to put that song on there. But, and then that day was the last day we had with our bass player Stone, who sadly passed away in April while we were mixing it.
Right.
But we're carrying on, we've got another good friend that we've known for a long time and played in various projects with. Matt Ross is filling in for him.
Right. Yeah. It's got to be tough to replace a guy in the band like that.
Yeah. Especially rhythm section. That son of a bitch,
Yeah.
But we're hanging in there though.
All righty. Well, that's good to hear. So I wanted to ask you about some of the tracks on it. You got one called Poor Taste, which you have somebody named Wanda singing with you, who has her own band with the Wanda Band, I think it is. So tell me about Wanda and tell me about Poor Taste.
You gotta let me go. No, you gotta let me go. How long must I pay for your poor taste?
Well, we actually share a drummer.
Okay.
But she was I had written that song. My buddy Jay Burgess, who produced the record, he had been on the road with Nicole Atkins. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her.
I just spoke to her a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Well, he was out with her, and I'd mentioned to him about wanting to record like a duet.
Uh-huh.
And he, was thinking I would do one of my older songs, but I was like, let me just write a new one. If you're going to get Nicole to do it, it's just something fresh. So I wrote Poor Taste, and then, schedules never really lined up. It just didn't really happen with her. And the song was sitting there, and he was actually making Wanda's record at the time and played me some of that. And I kind of knew Wanda. Her and my bass player were actually really close friends.
Right.
And of course we shared the drummer, and I really liked her sound. And so I was like, well, hell, let's get Wanda to do it. And I really can't imagine it being any other way. I'm glad it worked out like it did.
Yeah, the video's pretty entertaining.
For 2 hours and 0 budget, I mean, I think that's pretty good. It's campy, but whatever.
And Jay, your producer, he's in a band called the Pollies, I believe, right? So
That's right.
What does he bring to the table?
He's just got a really great ear, and he a lot of people don't really understand what a producer does, but Jay does it. I'm not even so sure I fully understand, but I know that when I'm in the room with him manning the boards and giving us pointers, or I don't know, he captures our best performances. And we've been friends a long time, but we kind of approach music, recording music differently. He goes for basically, it's more complicated than this, but basically, like, he's really into reverb and I'm not.
Okay.
But like building productions, he's very skilled in building tracks. And that first record, we just went in there 4 guys in a room and played everything live, didn't do any overdubs, no reverb, but I knew I kind of wanted to branch out some more. And so it's like when me and Jay's ideas meet in the middle somewhere, it's usually something pretty special. So, so Jay's great at what he does, and his band, the Pollies, is great too.
Oh, check them out. So you got a tune called Beatlesque Nowhere, which being a guy of my vintage, I have to ask you about that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's not too much to it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I'll be right here with no patience, spinning, backsliding, a thread, start pinning. Why? Maybe the vision's not the word, come push to shove. After all we know by now, peace is not a glove. Maybe we're just distancing from everything but love.
When, the pandemic was going on, and, after a few months of being cooped up in the house with my kids, and, it was amazing the, depths within yourself you dig into to cope. And I just remember having one day, it just all seemed so strange to me and so weird. And it kind of, I equated it to like a sort of an acid fueled trippy Beatles song,
Right.
So I kind of used that, and it's my COVID song. It's got symbolism and metaphors and
All that
things
stuff.
surrounding the feeling of being cooped up during the pandemic.
Yeah. Yep. So coming out of the other side of the pandemic, did the band feel kind of different than, and you probably are because you're now without your bass player, but besides that, on top of that, how do you guys look at yourselves?
We, we're sort of struggling to figure out like a schedule to go play shows because, Matt, while he was a very well-known, respected local bass player in Huntsville, Alabama, where I'm originally from, he's had a regular job for 20 years. And so, we're kind of getting out on the road doing like one or two shows here and there, but I think maybe eventually, and he probably knows it too, in order to get on the road for a long period of time, we might have to find somebody who can do that.
Go away for a while.
So it has been, though. I was really hoping to just kind of hit the road hard right after the record came out. But between Stone passing and the scheduling and also, coming out of the pandemic, I do feel different. I mean, I'm way more of a homebody than I used to be.
Right. Yep. You get used to that, huh?
I couldn't wait to get out. Now I can't wait to get back, But I'm kind of, slowly sort of breaking myself out of that because, you got to network, you got to go see people, you got to go see other people's bands. So
Yeah.
All that stuff.
I want to touch on a lyric of yours, explaining it to do is the name of the song. And I just love, if asses were as narrow as minds, they'd put 1,000 in a pew. That's genius.
I've got a bone to pick with organized religion, but it actually, I wish I could take credit for it. It actually came from my great grandfather. Come from a pretty Southern family, and while I grew up sort of in the city of Huntsville, like my grandparents, and they picked cotton. They were very Southern country, poor type people, and but my grandfather used to say that about Church of Christ. My great grandfather, their asses were as narrow as their minds. They put 1,000 in a pew. I got to work that in somewhere.
You guys gonna need to book a trip just to find you in his dirt. The earth's been drifting through space with your prayers and what they call in a church. Asses were as narrow as mine. Put 1,000 in a pew. I'm not counting on your second-rate angel. I'd rather count on you.
And explaining to do is kind of a reference to Lucy and Ricky, right?
Oh yeah, well, when we call the song on stage, somebody usually goes, "Lucy."
Yeah, you got some explaining to do.
Yeah, but no, I just always felt like anytime I've tried to have a intelligent conversation with someone who's an advocate for organized religion,
Yep.
I always leave feeling like, you've got some explaining to do, because not knocking religious people in general, but there's a line that gets crossed.
Yep. Now, I learned something when listening to Mean Grass, because there's a reference to Iron City, and I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, so to me, Iron City was Pittsburgh. But
I got you.
Now, Birmingham apparently is the Southern Iron City. Is that what you're referring to?
It's not actually.
Oh, now I'm still in the dark.
Yep. So just north of where I am, right on the border of Tennessee, there's a little very small town called Iron City. And they call it that because there's actually like iron in the hills and stuff, and certain places it'll mess with your cell phone service. And
right.
It's just a really rough part of the world. It's very, I don't know, but the story itself isn't necessarily a true story, something specific, but it's sort of a lot of stories from areas like that,
Yep.
I just used it to get the song done.
Billy wasn't leaving Iron City. All on his high school charm. Hard work and drinking led to self-pity. Self-pity crystallized behind his firearm.
So do you remember a band called the Iron City House Rockers?
I do not.
They were kind of like a working class, blue collar, Bruce Springsteen kind of band. I think maybe Steve Van Zandt may have produced one of their albums back in the early days.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
that sounds familiar.
I might want to check them out. Good fun.
Iron City, what?
The Iron City House Rockers.
All right, I'm gonna check that. I'm about to make a drive here in a little bit. I'll throw it
on. Very good. Now the album wraps up with Ball of Yarn, which rocks out pretty nicely. And is there a reference to Jeff Buckley in there as well?
There is, yeah. That song's so real. I mean that whole record. I'm not like a diehard Buckley fan. I hope I don't disappoint any diehard Buckley fans who caught that.
I saw him once. I got to say, I was kind of disappointed, but apparently that's the exception rather than the rule. But there you go.
Yeah. But I do love that record, and but no, the song is sort of about being tempted as a married man or and with refraining as well, but I don't know. I think maybe I was just listening to that record at the time and came up with that line.
Swerving home singing Buckley songs till I remember what I forgot. If something feels so real, be betting that it's not. Pushing through her smoking memory so that I may complete the tasks. Stabilize my image and tighten up my mask.
So you're thinking about the next record already, or are you just kind of knee deep in this one?
I'm always thinking about a new record, man. It's my favorite thing to do. I've got some songs put together. I'm not so sure they fit the rock and roll criteria for the Proponents, but
do you have a list, the criteria for the rock and roll? Tick them.
We sort of parted from the vibe of our first record quite a bit on this one, and I don't know. I kind of want to maybe get back to that first record a little bit for whatever our next one is.
Right.
But for myself, I've just sort of been, I don't know, hoarding little songs that I write, song ideas. And I've always wanted to go in the studio and maybe, try to play all the instruments, not that I'm proficient at all the instruments, but I feel like where I'm limited might also bring forth new ideas and ways to get it done.
It's amazing what you can do on your own these days. I mean, I've heard some records that are done like that, and it sounds like there were 1,000 people in the studio of just layers of amazing sounds. So
absolutely. So I think I don't know, the restriction of it might actually lend itself to some good melodic. Sometimes I can get too complicated when I've got a band who can play anything with me. Right. I'll go crazy with ideas.
Too many options.
I
need boundaries.
Exactly. Force myself to write some simpler songs because it's like I can't play much more on the drums or the bass.
Very good. Well, it sounds like things are going well down there, down south, or up south as it is for here. But
yeah,
we're really south.
Yeah, for real.
So hopefully, it'd be lovely to have you guys down here at some point. So, think about it once things straighten out. And
yeah, man, it's I'll try to keep in touch and put in a good word for us somewhere. We'll come play.
Always will. Oh, you betcha. All right. Well, thanks for spending time talking to me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Marty.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.